An overly busy, hurried life is the new normal in the Western world, and it's toxic. The problem isn't when you have a lot to do, it's when you have too much to do and the only way to keep up is to hurry. What is all this distraction and pace doing to our souls? I want to be fully present to the moment, to God, to other people, and to my own soul. Do you?
Good morning, everyone. It is great to be with you today, and also good morning to all of you who are worshiping in many different locations right now, all over the place online. And by the way, if you noticed in our year in review document that went out with our 2021 giving statements, our average online weekend attendance is 413 people. So when we say hello to everybody joining us online right now, that's a lot of people. And we just want to say we're glad to be with you. For whatever reason you're with us online right now, we love you, we miss you, and look forward to worshiping with you again soon. We are in week 2 of this series called Unhurry, so I will hurry up and preach this sermon so that you can get your Super Bowl preparations in place. I happen to have former students of mine who play for both teams in today's game, but my high school basketball teammate, Zach Taylor, is Cincinnati's head coach, so go Bengals. Is that all right? I loved Dave's sermon last week. As he kicked off this series, he asked us a crucial question. Am I addicted to hurry? Am I addicted to hurry? I took time to honestly ponder that question, and I did a scan of my personal life and my priorities. I'd like to say thank you very much, Pastor Dave Brown, for helping me discover that I do, in fact, have an addiction to hurry. This discovery happened on Monday as I left the office. And what happened, I'm actually going to illustrate it for you so that you can understand really the gravity of this situation. I was driving home, and I came to a 4-way stop sign. So let me draw this for you. And at the stop sign, a woman had arrived before me, so I did, the human thing and stopped and waited for the woman to pass. She was here, okay, and I was right here. She needed to turn left, and I needed to turn left. The problem is, she's so slow. So I sat there for seconds. It really felt like 20 minutes waiting for this woman. I controlled, some unwholesome thoughts about her, wondering why she even was ever given a license. And then I did this. While she was still in the intersection, I left my position and I went around her car and went home. We're in a series called Unhurry. I drew that for you so that you could really see how seriously bad this is. And I stand before you today to confess to you that I have a problem. I've got a big problem. I drive way too fast. Every time I'm in a car, I drive way too fast. When I see a yellow light, I see that as a sign that I need to hurry. to get through the intersection. It's time to hit the gas and not the brakes. That's what yellow communicates to me. I leave events early so that I can get ahead of the crowd. In fact, my family and I were at the Jinx varsity basketball game the other night. It was a tied game. This is a good game. There's 2 minutes left. And I looked at my whole family and I said, "Follow me." I didn't make them leave the game, but I made them stand with me as close as possible to the exit doors so that we could get out ahead of the people. And don't judge me, I'm being vulnerable here, but we ran to our car. I send text messages instead of call. I exercise, but I do not stretch. When I travel, I have TSA pre-check. And anytime I shop, I do self-checkout, simply because I'm faster. But enough about me. What about you? Can you relate today? Walter Adams served as a spiritual director to C.S. Lewis, and he once said this: "To walk with Jesus is to walk with a slow, unhurried pace. Hurry is the death of prayer." And I would argue that that's true for any spiritual discipline that you want to grow in or you want to exercise so that you can know Christ more. Hurry will be the death of it. So think for just a minute about walking with Jesus. Think about it literally. Walking with Jesus. The average person walks 3 miles an hour. So how can I walk 3 miles an hour with Jesus when my life, generally speaking, is always over the speed limit? Maybe we need to slow down and catch up with God. Maybe we need to slow down in order to catch up with God. Perhaps you're familiar with John 14:6, where Jesus made the following claim. He said, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Yes, Jesus is the truth. His very words, spoken words, revealed doctrine. And even in some of his teachings, he started sentences by saying, "Truly, truly, I say to you." So Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the life. The one who believes in him will live even though they die. John 11:25. Jesus is the truth. Jesus is the life. But what about the way? What about Jesus being the way? We don't talk about that very often. Following the way of Jesus means that we do as Jesus did. We get up early and we find a quiet place and spend time with God. We sleep. We prioritize resting our physical bodies. We sit down with others for unhurried conversations over meals. We practice the Sabbath, and we intentionally stop all of the hustle in our lives. We see, and not only see, but we also stop for the marginalized. We are present in the moment. We decline invitations and we say no as much as we say yes. Did you know that before 1879, the average person slept 11 hours per night? What changed? It's called the light bulb. And our bodies no longer follow the rhythm of the sun and the moon, but instead, this little thing that you click on your phone to set an alarm. Way too early to push yourself way too hard. We have been pushing our bodies beyond our limits for nearly a century and a half. When will we stop? Jesus modeled an unhurried life for us. John Mark Comer writes in his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, that Jesus' weekly schedule was a prophetic act against the hurried rhythms of our world today. If you just look at his life, the way he would come and go, the way that he spent time with people, the way that he prioritized time with the Father. If you just look at his life, it was a prophetic act against the hurried rhythms of our world today. So today I'm going to read a story in which Jesus models this unhurried life for us. But first, I invite all of you to perform a self-diagnosis today. Are you overdosing on overcommitment? Could the pace of your life actually be a form of self-violence? Are you overwhelming your kids with the number of commitments that you place on their schedule, possibly without even talking to them about it? Are you doing too much for the affirmation of others or for that very pleasing feeling of accomplishment? Do you say yes to every single invitation so that you'll feel more socially accepted and involved? In his book, Overdoing It, How to Slow Down and Take Care of Yourself, Brian Robinson describes 3 progressive stages of addiction to hurry. And this is how we're going to perform our self-diagnosis today. So as you see these, just consider what relates to me. The early stage of this addiction to hurry is rushing everywhere, overly busy, inability to say no, constantly thinking about work, and never taking a day off. Do you know at Redeemer Church, a part of our annual evaluation, there's a question that says, have you used all of your vacation days this year? Because if one of our staff says no, then that person's supervisor challenges them. This is kind of non-negotiable. We want to serve together, but we want to serve from a place of rest. That we stop the pace occasionally throughout the year and we rest, we pause. The middle stage of this addiction to hurry, consistently working 40 plus hours. Wonder if I'm talking to anybody here today. Onset of other addictions, chronic fatigue, aborted attempts to do less, and lacking basic gratitude. The late stage of addiction to hurry is physical pain, emotional deadness, sleeplessness, moral or spiritual bankruptcy, and always being agitated with others. If you identify with any of these stages, it's okay. So do I. So take a deep breath. We're all practicing vulnerability here. Let's turn our attention to the way of Jesus and see how his way might inspire our ways. Mark 4, 35 through 41. You can turn there or it'll be on the screens for you. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along, just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with them. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. And he said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. This is a familiar story, and I've heard it mostly preached as a lesson about faith and the actions of the disciples during that storm. But today, I invite you to hear and digest this story as an example of the rhythm and the pace of Jesus' life. He had been teaching all day long from the bow of a borrowed boat. Fatigue had kicked in, and dusk approached, and he brought his session to a close. It was time to stop, and off they went. So I like to imagine the disciples' surprise. They think, hey, Jesus wants to get away from the crowd. Now we're going to get some one-on-one time with Jesus tonight. I'm excited to spend time with him without the distraction of all the other people. Imagine their surprise when they got on that boat and realized Jesus wanted away from them too. I picture Peter walking up maybe to tell Jesus a story about what happened that day, and Jesus just politely waves him off. Judas wanted to share his plan with Jesus to secure additional revenue for the ministry. I picture Jesus saying, let's talk about it later. And then James and John start asking about their status in the coming kingdom, and Jesus just rolls his eyes and walks away. He went to the back of the boat. He laid down, put up a do not disturb sign somewhere, and he went to sleep. Jesus went to the back of the boat, and he didn't preach there. He didn't teach there. He didn't disciple there. He didn't mentor there. He did not work there. He did not heal there. He slept. A combination of exhaustion from his ministry that day and probably also the relaxation of the waves rocking the boat. Jesus was out. Richard Swenson writes that margin is the space that once existed between our load and our limits. Margin is the space between vitality and exhaustion. It is our breathing room, our reserves, our leeway. It is the opposite of overload. When Jesus went to the back of the boat, he was practicing margin. And we not only have to practice margin in our lives, but we also have to protect margin. The back of the boat is simply a metaphor here and a symbol of the necessary break from the constant activity of life. So let me share something very enlightening with you today. Remember this as you go. If Jesus needed to stop, then so do we. If Jesus needed to stop, we need to stop as well. I love this story. There's a legendary pianist who was once asked this question: how do you handle the notes as well as you do? And the artist responded, I handle the notes no better than any others, but the pauses, that's where the art resides, in the pauses. We need to pause. We need to see the rhythm and the pace and the discipline in the life of Jesus, fully divine but fully man, and follow his way and pause. We need to slow down to catch up with God. So let me finish today by offering a few practical tips that might help you slow down and catch up with God. The first is this: schedule time with God. If you live a life that is rigidly obedient to your schedule, and you schedule time with everyone else at work and with your family, and all of the events in your life are scheduled, it's no insult to God for you to put time with him in your calendar. That's perfectly fine. If you follow a calendar, put him on it. Schedule time with him. If you don't, even if you sit down to spend time with God, there will always be an interruption. Number 2, learn to say no. Everybody say no. Now say it more aggressively. No. Don't say it that way to people, but mean it that way. When they invite you to do stuff, you got to protect yourself from living this overly busy life. So say no. And I'm not just saying say no to the things that you already hate doing. You know, like you get an invitation, you don't want to do it. It's like, God, I said no for you. No, you said no for you, not him. Say no to all sorts of things to create more margin, to live with a healthier pace. Number 3, quit something. One of my favorite authors, Bob Goff, has admitted in messages before that he really struggles to say no, really to anything. He's always overly busy. So I've heard him say that to avoid this overly busy lifestyle, that he quits something every single Thursday. What's one thing in your life that you could quit, that it's going to survive just fine without your presence there? So yeah, you may have to wrestle with your ego a little bit on this one. What's something that you could quit? Now, use discernment here. Don't quit on somebody. Don't tell your kid today, I quit driving you to practice and Adam said I could. Use discernment. Quit something. Number 4, adopt new disciplines. Lent is right around the corner. It's a perfect time to put some new slowing techniques into practice, such as coming to a full stop at a stop sign or driving the speed limit. I can't believe I'm saying this right now. Truly. Instead of self-checkout, I don't want to say this, Lord. Instead of self-checkout, get in the longest line at the store. Yeah, I said it. And while you're in that line, smile and be friendly to people. Draw up a conversation. Don't leave Redeemer over this sermon, by the way. At the next event that you attend, stay in your seat until everyone else leaves. I'm going to try that at the next event. We may have to take 2 cars because I've trained my family to go. And go on a walk today. Go on a walk today through your neighborhood. And do your very best to find a 3-mile-an-hour pace, because I know you want to walk 6 miles an hour because you got to get back and get ready for the game. Go on a walk and just slow down. Number 5, resist social acceptability. Ooh. Just because all of your friends live an overly busy, hurried life does not mean that you need to fit in. Just because all of your children's friends live an overly busy life doesn't mean that you need to allow your child to do the same. Number 6, turn notifications off. If you email me after 5 o'clock, I'm not seeing it till the next morning. If it's an emergency, you'll find a way to find me. But that's my time to be with my children and not with my inbox. Turn the notifications off when you go home. Or just do yourself a favor and gather all of your friends and family and just bash your cell phone with a sledgehammer. That's another option. A recent study found that the average person touches his or her iPhone 2,617 times a day, with an average of 2.5 hours of usage. That's bad. I'm not talking about millennials right now. I'm not talking about high school kids. This is the average. Number 7, give the Sabbath a try. since I can't even stop at a stop sign. I don't feel that comfortable preaching about the Sabbath. I have very much to learn about that discipline. So I've invited Ryan Myers to preach about that next week. And I look forward to hearing from Ryan and learning. Let me close with these words from John Ortberg. For many of us, the danger is not that we will renounce our faith, it is that we will become so distracted and so rushed and preoccupied that we will settle for a mediocre version of it. We will just skim our lives instead of living them. May that not be true for us. May we learn how to slow down and catch up with God. So we're going to do that right now. And our worship team is just going to play instrumentally for a few minutes. And as they do, I just ask you to sit, pray, reflect, ponder your own life, your own pace, your own rhythm, and enjoy a slow moment. As you hear the music even, maybe pay attention to the pauses, because that's where the art resides. Take it away.